Hello, dear students, very good morning. Today we shall try to understand the introduction of Robert Browning, the poet, which is included in your syllabus of poetry and drama, that is paper 1. We have one poem from Robert Browning in your syllabus, which is My Last Duchess. Robert Browning was born in 1812 in a household where every kind of influence favored his nurturing of the poetic spirit. His parents always encouraged him when they saw a poet in him. That is, the poetic qualities were already there in the mind of Robert Browning. That is, he was God gifted. Poetry was given by God. Therefore, his parents realized and felt that element in their son. So they encouraged him. As we know, Robert Browning was influenced by Byron as well as Shelley, and prominently he is known as a Victorian poet and a contemporary of Tennyson, Lord Tennyson. He is also known for his intellectual vigor and his psychological studies of human nature. So, we will see in his poems how he makes a psychological study of human nature. The poem that we shall study, we shall analyze, we shall read, that is My Last Duchess, is also one of the best example of the psychological study of human nature. Robert Browning was mostly educated at home, but he was very well versed in arts and their appreciation. And he also fell in love with Elizabeth Barrett, whom later he married. Elizabeth Barrett was also a poet, and they lived together. In 1889, Robert Browning died. Now let's go with his chief works, try to know about his main creations. So the first volume, of which the name was Pauline, appeared in 1843, and his last Isolando in 1889 on the day of his death. So the last publication of which the name was Isolando, published in 1889 on the day of his death. That is important. Other publications are like Dramatic Lyrics in 1845, Men and Women in 1864, Dramatis Personae in 1868, The Ring and the Book in 1868 to 69. All these important publications contain his best poems, specifically My Last Duchess, Porphyria's Lovers, Meeting at Night, Parting at Morning, The Lost Mistress, The Last Ride Together, Andrin del Sarto, Prospice, and 100 others. So these were the important poems that we find in these publications like Dramatic Lyrics, Men and Women, Dramatis Personae, The Ring and the Book. Okay? Now let's see some specific qualities of Browning's poetry. You know very well that Browning is known for writing dramatic monologue. He is also called the father of dramatic monologue. This is a new device of poetry that he brought in English literature, in the writing of English literature. Other qualities of Robert Browning's poetry are like the formal beauty, which is sensuous, musical, melodious. His poems are filled with all these qualities. In his poems, everything, words, cadence, all other formal elements serve on single purpose to show the individual being shaped by the situation. That is, his characters are shaped by the situation. That is what we see in his poetry, in his poems. As I already told you, that he is called the father of dramatic monologue. Now, what is dramatic monologue? This is also very important to know. So, in a monologue, the speaker or the character speaks out either to himself or to an audience. So, it is just like a soliloquy that you have read in your previous classes. If you have read Shakespeare's plays, I think you might very well know about monologues, about soliloquies. So, monologue is a kind of soliloquy in which the speaker or the character speaks to himself or to an audience or to an silent listener. The audience or the listener does not respond, does not interfere in the dialogue of the character. So, Robert Browning is famous for writing dramatic monologue, and the poem that we are going to study is also a masterpiece of dramatic monologue. Now, let me tell you something about the poem, that is about the introduction to the poem. This poem published in Dramatic Lyrics, the publication's name is Dramatic Lyrics, in November 1842. It is a monologue spoken by whom? By an Italian duke of ancient lineage, ancient family of which he had the proud, and he was a widower. So he is speaking to a confidential agent of a count. There has come an envoy from a count whose daughter the Duke proposes to make his second duchess. That is, Duke wants to marry his daughter. So a proposal has come there. The Duke first married a young girl called Lucrezia, who was daughter of the Duke Florence, who brought him a handsome dowry also. Her life with him was never happy. She died 3 years later under very suspicious circumstances. So, under very suspicious circumstances means there was something wrong done by the Duke, because when we will study the poem, read the poem, we will come to know that the Duke is very hungry. The Duke is he is very baggy. He is very fond of dowry, hungry for dowry. Then here in this poem, the Duke made negotiations for the hand of Barbara. So he was making another proposal with negotiations with Barbara, with the daughter of Barbara. And she was niece of the Count of Tyrol, whose capital was at Innsbruck. Browning has also represented the Duchess as a pathetic, stifled figure rendered incapable by circumstances. Means she cannot do anything. She is incapable because of the circumstances which have been created by the Duke himself. So there were no scope for her talents and feelings. So this is that was the introduction of My Last Duchess. That is the poem was written. Now I tell you the gist of the poem. That is, we can say, the central idea or the brief summary of the poem. Okay, what is there actually in this poem that we are going to read? So, first of all, we see that there is an Italian duke who is the speaker in this poem. And there had come the envoy of a count. A messenger has come from the nearby count whose daughter the duke was negotiating to marry. It means the envoy of a count has brought a proposal of marriage of the daughter of the count in order to marry the duke. So the duke and the envoy are meeting at the palace of the duke. We know that the duke was a widower. He shows the family portrait gallery to the envoy. He is showing the portraits, photos, clips to the envoy, showing the gallery of the pictures about his paintings, about his wife, about other family members. When there is the portrait of his last duchess, he stops and he begins to comment on that picture. What he says? He says that it is really a wonderful portrait. It is looking as lifelike, looking as alive. The picture of the Duchess is lifelike, is alive, as if she is alive. Then he says that Friar Pandolf, who was a painter, was the painter, and he painted it with a great labor. Then the Duke informs the envoy that look at the deep and intense passions which are on the face of Duchess. And these deep and intense passions have always attracted the visitors. So you also look at and you will begin to think such a deep and intense passions are for what on the face of the Duchess. So Duke clears it that the envoy, addressing the envoy, that it's not because of his love for her. These deep passions, the deep intense passions are not because of his love for her, but it was due to everyone who appreciated her. Meaning is here that this Duchess used to smile at everyone and everywhere. She was pleased with everything and everybody. Anyone who appreciated her, anyone who shows his gratitude to her, she would be pleased. She would smile. She would give a smile. So he says that joy on her face was clear and bright, and it was only by the casual remarks of the painter. So you see the deep joy, the picture of joy on her face. It might have been because of the casual remarks made by the painter. So she might have laughed or smiled. She had an innocent, happy nature that could be pleased easily, as I have explained already. Her smiling glance went everywhere to everyone. That is, she used to smile at everyone and everywhere. She used to please herself by a small thing anyone would give her. She would make no difference of giving a smile to her husband or anyone else. That is, the smile that she used to give anyone as well as to her husband. There was, the meaning is that there was no difference. She would make no difference giving the smile to anyone else as well as to her husband. That is, she made no special favor of the smile to her husband. And this was the reason, this was the thing that the Duke could not tolerate. And this continued. And when this continued, the Duke got angered. And then one day, he says to envoy that all her smiles stop together. Then what? And the day came and he ordered to stop all her smiles. Meaning is that he ordered to murder her. In this way, the Duke is telling the story about his last duchess. Here, last duchess. So the last meaning, the word last means, it means the duchess who died earlier. It means that the Duke is a widower. And then he also expresses in words his greed for dowry, asking for the dowry. And in the end of this poem, the Duke is showing him the other wall paintings which were brought from the Innsbruck and which were showing, it means that Duke loved paintings. That is, Duke has love for painting. So this is what the summary, brief summary of the poem. Thank you very much, dear students. In our next lecture, we shall go with lines of the poem, line to line, explanations, etc. I will also forward you the PDF format of this lecture or of this PPT material that will also help you to understand the poem as well. So again, thank you very much.